What if I told you the most valuable company on earth doesn't really sell technology? They don't sell phones, or laptops, or watches. Not really. They sell an identity. They sell a belief system so powerful that it inspires a level of devotion most companies can only dream of. A loyalty that goes far beyond customer satisfaction and borders on religious fervor. You don't just buy their products. You believe in them. This isn't just business. It's something much, much deeper. We're talking, of course, about Apple. A company that rose from a California garage to become a multi-trillion-dollar titan that reshaped modern life. Their success is undeniable. But the real story isn't in their balance sheet. It's in the queues of people who camp outside their stores for a new product. It's in the fierce, unwavering defense of the brand by its users. It's in the iconic logo that has become a global symbol of creativity and status. Competitors have created phones with better cameras, laptops with more processing power, and ecosystems that are arguably more open. Yet, none have managed to build what Apple has. Not just a customer base, but a congregation. A tribe of true believers. So how did they do it? How did a computer company from Cupertino build the most powerful brand in history, a brand that operates less like a corporation and more like a cult? That's the question we're answering today. To understand the cult of Apple, we have to unlock the 4 pillars of their strategy. This wasn't an accident. It was a masterclass in brand building. Our story begins in the late 1970s. The world of computing was dominated by giants. Companies like IBM. Computers were seen as cold, complex, corporate tools. They were utilitarian boxes for number crunching, devoid of personality. They represented a rigid, top-down authority. This was the world Apple was born into. And from the very beginning, they defined themselves not by what they were, but by what they were not. Their strategy was to create a mythology. A story of rebellion. The most famous example, of course, is their legendary 1984 Super Bowl ad. Directed by Ridley Scott, it didn't show the product at all. It showed a dystopian world of grey, mindless drones, mesmerized by a Big Brother figure on a giant screen. Then, a lone heroine, representing Apple, runs in and shatters the screen, liberating the masses. The message was brutally simple and profoundly effective. IBM is Big Brother. Apple is freedom. This wasn't an ad for a beige computer. It was a declaration of war on the status quo. It positioned Apple as a tool for the rebels, the creatives, the round pegs in the square holes. The ones who wanted to change the world. The Think Different campaign years later solidified this identity. It featured icons like Albert Einstein, Martin Luther King Jr., and Mahatma Gandhi. Apple was explicitly aligning its brand with the spirit of human progress and revolutionary thinking. The result? Early adopters didn't just buy a Macintosh because it had a graphical user interface. They bought it because it was a symbol. It was a statement about who they were. They weren't just users, they were members of the resistance. Apple gave them a story to believe in, and a villain to fight against. By the late 1990s, Apple had its mythology, but it faced a huge problem. Its products were being sold in big-box electronics stores, placed on drab shelves right next to their competitors. The sales staff were often uninformed, and the buying experience was transactional and uninspired. The story Apple was telling in its ads was being completely undermined by the reality of its retail experience. Steve Jobs knew that to control the brand, he had to control the experience. His solution was radical and widely predicted to fail. He decided to open his own stores. To do this, he hired Ron Johnson, a retail executive from Target. Jobs gave him a simple, yet profound, mission: don't design a store to sell products. Design it to enrich lives. The Apple Store was conceived as a cathedral for the brand. The architecture was open, minimalist, and inviting, using materials like wood, glass, and steel. Products weren't locked behind cases, they were displayed out in the open, fully functional, inviting you to touch and play with them. Then there was the masterstroke, the Genius Bar. It wasn't a customer service desk. It was a place for advice, for learning, for solving problems. It transformed the dreaded act of tech support into a collaborative, human interaction. It was the tech equivalent of a town square or a community hub. The strategy was to remove every point of friction associated with buying technology. There were no sales commissions, so the staff's only goal was to help you. The focus was on education, not on the hard sell. The result was a retail experience unlike any other. The stores became pilgrimage sites for the faithful. They were physical embodiments of the brand's values: simplicity, creativity, and human-centric design. Apple didn't just build a store, they built a temple, and millions of people came to worship. As technology became more advanced, the industry fell into a trap. The feature creep. Companies battled to one-up each other by adding more buttons, more options, more complexity. Products shipped with thick, intimidating user manuals. Apple's strategy was to declare war on complexity. Their core doctrine was a ruthless pursuit of simplicity. This philosophy, championed by Steve Jobs and legendary designer Johnny Ive, was about more than just a clean look. It was a deep-seated belief that technology should be intuitive, accessible, and ultimately, invisible. It should just work. Think about the original iPod. While other MP3 players were clunky devices with confusing buttons, the iPod had a simple, elegant click wheel. You could navigate your entire music library with just your thumb. Think of the iPhone. It launched without a physical keyboard, a move that seemed insane at the time. But its multi-touch interface was so intuitive that a child could use it without instructions. Apple's obsession with simplicity extended to every single detail. The unboxing experience is a carefully choreographed ritual. The magnetic click of a MacBook lid. The deliberate removal of ports and buttons. For Apple, the most powerful feature was often the one they had the courage to take away. This doctrine of simplicity became a powerful differentiator. It made their technology feel magical. It created a sense of effortless power for the user, reinforcing the core belief that Apple was on a higher plane. You didn't need a manual because the product itself was the gospel, and its truth was self-evident. Every great belief system has a charismatic leader, and for Apple, that figure was undoubtedly Steve Jobs. In 1997, Apple was on the brink of collapse. It had lost its way. The product line was a confusing mess of different models, the brand was diluted, and the company had lost its soul. Then, the prophet returned. Steve Jobs' return to the company he co-founded is the stuff of business legend. He wasn't just a new CEO, he was the charismatic leader returning to save his flock. And he did so with a clarity of vision that was almost religious in its intensity. He immediately slashed the product line, famously drawing a simple four-quadrant grid: Pro, Consumer, Desktop, Portable. That was it. He refocused the company on making just a few products, but making them insanely great. And then, he took to the stage. The Steve Jobs keynote became Apple's high sermon. Dressed in his uniform of a black turtleneck and blue jeans, he didn't just announce products. He told stories. He created heroes and villains. He built suspense. He articulated the why behind every new device with a passion and conviction that was mesmerizing. His famous "one more thing" became a liturgical phrase, a moment of dramatic reveal that would send the audience of developers, journalists, and fans into a frenzy. Jobs was the ultimate evangelist. He embodied the brand's rebel spirit and its obsessive passion for perfection. He made product launches into global cultural events. Through him, the company spoke with a single, clear, and powerful voice. He wasn't just selling a product, he was renewing the faith. So, when you put it all together, the secret becomes clear. Apple's genius was not in marketing, or design, or retail alone. It was in weaving all of these elements together to create a brand religion. They didn't just sell you a computer, they sold you membership in a tribe of creative rebels. That was the mythology. They didn't just build stores, they built churches where you could experience the brand's promise firsthand. Those were the cathedrals. They didn't just design easy-to-use products, they created a core belief system, a testament to the power of simplicity. That was the doctrine. And in Steve Jobs, they had the charismatic leader, the high priest who could articulate the vision and inspire the masses. He was the prophet. This is the real strategy. When you buy an iPhone, you are not just buying a communication device. You are buying a symbol of your identity. You are signaling that you align with the values of creativity, simplicity, and thinking differently. That's why the cult of Apple is so powerful. It's not a transactional relationship between a consumer and a corporation. It's an emotional, identity-affirming bond between a believer and their faith. An attack on the brand feels like a personal attack. That's a connection that no amount of advertising dollars can buy. And if that insight just made something click for you, take a second to click the like and subscribe buttons. It helps us keep unlocking these strategies. The brilliance of this strategy is that it built an emotional fortress around the company. For decades, competitors have tried to beat Apple on features, on price, on technical specifications. And they have consistently failed to understand that they aren't competing with a product. They're competing with a belief system. The enduring lesson from Apple isn't to copy their minimalist aesthetic or build glass-fronted stores. The real lesson is about the profound power of building a brand around a clear and compelling why. It's about understanding that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. By selling an idea, an identity, and a set of values, Apple transcended the marketplace and created a legacy that will be studied for generations. If you learned something new, hit the like button and subscribe for more strategy breakdowns. And let us know in the comments, what company's strategy should we unlock next?